Hi guys, I'm going to run through this simple authentication program. Okay, so when it starts, it presents a menu with three options at the moment. So list the things in the JSON file, or log in or log out. If I press 1 to list things, it says you're not logged in, and it presents a menu again. I'm just going to clear the screen. If I press 2, please log in, enter a username. If I put in a bad username with a bad password, it represents the menu. And now if I ask for the listing, it tells me I'm still not logged in. Okay, so let's try that again. I'm going to log in, and this time I'm going to use a good username with a matching password. Okay, and now when I ask it to list things, it does list everything. So if I press a 3 to log out, it presents the menu again. And now if I try and list everything, it tells me you're not logged in. Okay, let's spend a bit of time looking at how this all works. Right, so we've got a bunch of functions. Let's start with collecting usernames, the function collect usernames, and it uses the same JSON format you're used to. With open the JSON file name .json as f, and then define a variable. I've called it dump. Dump equals json.load.f.read. So dump is something I've created. You can choose another name for that, and return dump. So when you run this function, it returns a dump of all the JSON files for the collect usernames. Very similarly, this collect countries does the same thing, but this time pointing at the countries file. List the countries. Okay, so it's going to run a function if check login. Let's have a look at if check login first. Login, where is it? Check login. Eek. Check login. Global player 1. So it's going to grab player 1 from it's going to grab player 1 is declared up here. Player 1 equals false, and it's going to turn it into a global variable. So it's going to look out of its own scope and pull out the value of player 1. If player 1 is true, so if that variable is set to true, return true. So if login is true, then run the collect countries function and put all the data into data, and then loop through the data for n in data, print the country population stuff, and then print the format. Otherwise, if check login is false, then you're not logged in, and then print the menu again. Okay. List countries, check data. Okay, so we've run through that one. Authenticate. Define authenticate, which takes two parameters, u and p. The username and the password. Connect to the user's database, the JSON file. Loop through the data. If the username is equal to the username, if there is a username in there which matches the username and the password matches the password, then get the player 1 variable and set it to true. That's what authenticate does. Check login we've looked at, and then the login function. The login function, print a label, please log in, and then use the input method to ask them what their username is and store that in U, and put the password in P, and then use the authenticate function and pass that username and password to see if that works. Then the player 1 variable is set to true, and then present the menu. the logout function. The logout function grabs the global player, grabs the player one variable, and sets it to false, and then presents a menu again. And then finally, we've got the menu function, which has an array of menu items. Then it loops through the items in the in that array and puts a number to them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many numbers, however long the list is. Then choice equals int input, so whatever number they type in turn to choice. If they type in a 1, then go to the list countries function, the login function, or the logout function for 2, else logout. Okay, so all these different functions here. Okay, let's. I hope that's helpful.